Namashishtam anumapi shachiputram sarupam rupam tasyagrajam urupuram mataram goshtavatum. Can't remember that verse right now. Very beautiful verse, Prayer to Guru by Raghunath Das Goswami. Namashishtam anumapi shachiputram surupam rupam tasyagrajam urupuram mataram goshtavatam radha kundam girivaram maho radhika madhavasham prapto yasya pratita kripaya shri gurun tam natosmi. So, okay. So we're still going through the introductory content of Sharanagati. And our Guru, this is our Gurudev's editor's note from the 1949 Bengali edition, as I recall. And so as part of this introduction, he's including these citations from the scriptures on the glories of Sharanagati. And so I believe you concluded last week with the verses from Bhagavad Gita. Is that right, Didi?
Yes, yeah. And also I went through a few of that from this Puranas, Brahmavaivata Purana. There's 2-3 verses, and we had to start from Padma Purana. But if you like, we can go through that again. No problem.
Oh, fine, Didi, fine. Do you want to pick up with the leading us in the verses, Didi?
Okay, so I think we, yeah, okay. Probably from here, from in the Padma Purana. I think we did this one. Okay. Jai. Okay. Paramatam aseshasya jagatamādikaranam sharanam yato govindam navasidati. Govinda is the origin of all the universes, the supreme truth, and the ultimate shelter. One who surrenders unto him never falls down. And from the Padma Purana, Ahankritir ma karaha syana karastan nishedagaha tasmadu namasa kshetri svatantriyam pratishidyate bhagavat paratantrosau tada yathatma jivanaha tasmatsva samarthya vidhim tyajet sarvam aseshataha. So, in the word namaha, meaning obeisance, the syllable ma indicates the self-asserting ego, ahankar, meaning I am the doer. And the syllable na indicates its prevention. Thus, the act of offering obeisance, namaha, nullifies the offerer's independence. The soul is by nature subordinate to the Supreme Lord. Their innate function is servitude to him. Therefore, all actions performed with the conception, I am the doer, should be utterly abandoned. This is very nice, isn't it? When we, have to remember when you say Namaha, so that is like, especially in India, we all go around saying, Namaste, like a Namaha. So it is like we are, when we offer somebody Namaste, then you're offering your independence, right? Offering obeisance, that is like nullifies the offerer's independence. So.
Yeah, that explanation is very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. And yeah, and we can also mention, the ideas that, so what's being expressed here is the negation of the ego, but it, also that, we can point out that's referring to the material ego, right? As it says here, the self-asserting ego. And in that negation of the mundane ego, that allows for the awakenment of the spiritual ego, right? As is being expressed here, servitor of Krishna. So it is a deep meditation, and as Suvasini is saying, in India and all of us who are following, these traditions, we very often are, we may be bowing our head or giving our pranam, bowing our head or saying namaha, right? But what does it actually mean? It is very nice to meditate on that, and that whole there's a deep symbolism behind that, offering of obeisance. Right, that we're putting the highest point of our existence, we're putting that at the foot, right, at the beginning of the lowest point of existence of that higher entity, right? So again, there's like this negation of our lower identity, and embracing the revelation, the grace, that will come from that higher divine personality whom we are offering that namaha to, right? So it is very nice this verse's explanation is very nice. And as I recall, Srila Maharaj includes this in Prapana Jivanamrita also, right?
Yeah, I just read it yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does this carry the same meaning when you say namaskar or namaste? Do you know? You just mentioned, when we're making our obeisance namaha to the Lord, it's obviously okay.
I was asking Suvasini about this when I last saw her in the spring, and I believe you said it's more or less the same, right? The namas in some different parts of India, they have different versions, and it's pretty much the same, right?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember. I was talking to you, but it's actually, yes, namaskar. Yeah, it should be, because this comes from the root nama, right? Namaskar, nama. It should be. I guess it should mean the same thing, But in our place, it's more like we say namaskar, namaskaram, in Tamil. That's common use. And more in other parts of India, they say namaste, like that. Different places, yeah. But I think it's the coming from the same, everything coming from that root, namaha, I think should be. I don't know the difference really, but I guess it should definitely mean that this the same as is said here. Yeah. Should we continue? Yeah. In the Narasimha Purana, Tvam prapannosmi sharanam deva devam janardanam iti yaha sharanam praptastam kleshat uddharamyaham. I deliver from all suffering one who takes shelter of me, declaring, O Supreme Refuge, O Lord of Lords, O Janardhan, I am surrendered unto you. Sarvachara vivarjitaha shatadiyo vratya jagat vanchaka dambhahankriti bhana paishuna para papan tyaja nishturaha echanye dhanadara putra nirata sarva damastepihi Shri Govinda padara vinda sharana mukta bhavanti tvija. O twice born, persons who are devoid of all virtuous practices, deceitful, uncultured, fraudulent, arrogant, egotistical, addicted to intoxicants, sinful, malicious, cruel nature, grossly infatuated with son, wife, wealth, and so forth. Even such extremely fallen persons are liberated by surrendering unto the lotus feet of Sri Govinda.
Very encouraging. Good to know.
the next verse is very, very wonderful verse in the Ramayana. Sakriteva prapadno yastavasmiti jayachate abhayam sarvada tasmai dadamyetat pratham mama. Ramachandra proclaims, anyone who even once sincerely surrenders unto me, declaring, I am yours, and prays for fearlessness, it is my vow that I will always grant that to them. This is actually Lord Ramachandra says when Vibhishan, right? Vibhishan comes to
That's right.
Vibhishan coming from the enemy camp, like that, the brother of Ravana comes to take shelter of Lord Ramachandra. At that time, Hanuman and others, they're very suspicious about him, and he says that they are very angry and he should not be given shelter. But at that time, Lord Ramachandra says this: it is my vow that will always grant shelter to them who are sincerely coming to him for and surrendering to him. He says, even once, if they declare, I am yours, then I will, it is, and he takes a vow that I will always grant that. It's wonderful. Shall I continue, Didi? Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes. And thank you for giving some background on that verse for all of us.
Yeah. Examples of expressions of Sharanagati from the writings of the Acharyas prior to Sriman Mahaprabhu. Sri Yamunacharya. Na dharma nishtosmi na chatma vedi ne bhakti mam stvat charanāravinde akinchano anyagati sharanya tvat padamulam sharanam prabhadye. O Supreme Refuge, I am not religious. I do not know the nature of the soul, and I do not have any devotion to your lotus feet. I am bereft, and I have no other shelter. Such as I am, I surrender unto the soles of your feet. I know it's Vishaka's favorite verse, right?
You remember, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my absolute top 5 favorites. Really, really wonderful verse. Very hopeful. Very hopeful. And very just like this heartfelt, arms raised call, right? Cry out to the Lord. Naked prayer to the Lord. Such as I am, right? And it's there, I mean, there's so much to say, right? Like this is a real issue that practitioners face, that they're ashamed to face who they are, or they hide away because they feel like they're not good enough. I mean, I'm dealing with that right now with one of our spiritual family members, but that's actually a part of our ego, to think that we have to be perfect and then we're going to surrender, then we're going to participate, but this is the real raw naked spirit of surrender, such as I am, in all my messiness, and it's all up for display. But how is the Lord going to be able to fix us if he doesn't know what he's dealing with, right? I like this one expression. How can you wake someone up who's pretending to be asleep? Right? It was like, if we're trying to cover up, or we're in denial of our issues, how can the Vaishnavas work with us? How can the Lord work with us? Srila Sridhar Maharaj says in one place, let the Vaishnava enter the workshop of your heart. Let the Vaishnava enter the workshop of your heart. So, yes, being aware of our weaknesses, that's stage 1. But then stage 2 is being in a place of acceptance about that, and moving closer to the Lord for shelter because of that, not hiding away or becoming depressed or ashamed. And that's not helpful. We are students. We are students. So if someone, just like if a math teacher, I'll say maths because I'm in England, they don't say math. For some reason they say math. If your math teacher gives you a correction, oh, thank you so much, you've corrected where I made a mistake, I'll do better next time. Same thing. Oh, now I see where I'm going wrong. Now I can correct myself. And ultimately, we're depending on mercy. We're not going to improve on our own strength, but we're depending on mercy. Marie, you have your hand raised. Great.
Well, there's also a degree of hubris in deciding which things need to be fixed about you first. Like, how do you know that thing that you think is a terrible fault because it's kind of inconvenient for you isn't Krishna's favorite thing about you? Right. Like,
That's point, yeah.
Maybe like I'm really stubborn and I want to be less stubborn, but he likes a good fight sometimes. So, maybe you leave that one for last.
It's true. That's a very good point, that we don't even know, like our conception of what's right and wrong is skewed in the first place. Our conception of what's a problem and that's not a problem, like that's also not correct, right? Because it's perfectly true. We don't even have that capacity. No, it's all skewed. So, how helpless are we? We don't even know how we need to be helped, right? We don't even have clear what's really a problem. Like, actually like having mundane habits, it's actually not such a big deal. Like having addictions is actually not a big deal. What's a big deal are issues like envy, right? Or arrogance. Those are actually real issues, real obstacles. So yes, because our mundane sin, it is negligible, and the Lord, he can clear that away easily, and that's all kind of happening on the plane of the surface, the superficial plane, the mundane karmic plane. But if we have envy of other Vaishnavas, that's something that can actually affect the growth of our, nirguna bhakti, right? That's like the karmic stuff is on the saguna plane, the material plane. But if we have issues with other Vaishnavas, right, then that's touching on our connection with the nirguna plane, the transcendental plane. So anyway, how helpless we are, right? How much in need of proper vision and support and shelter. So anyway, this expression is very, very very touching, very beautiful, very exemplary, right? I don't know anything about anything, but such as I am, I'm surrendering to you. You please accept me. Naked call for shelter, raw naked call for shelter. Very beautiful.
Vishakha, so is that also like the envy and other qualities, like these bad qualities, even that sometimes we are not able to get rid of all that ourselves? Is also we need the help, isn't it, from the Lord? We can pray for that also, right? We can pray for the help.
Yeah, that's also true. That's also true. We need the grace of the Lord and the Vaishnavas for all of that. We need grace just to be able to perceive. Right? That's actually like a huge thing already, just to be given the eyes to perceive, right? And that's what Marie is touching on, right? So that's already grace, right? Welcome, Scarlett. Great to have you with us. And then purification, then that's also, right, depending on grace. So yes, we can pray like that. Please give me the eyes to see, and please give me the strength to overcome. these things. But that's the problem. Like, if our fault is in the sphere of arrogance, then we lose that feeling of necessity for shelter. That's the problem with that anartha. It's a dangerous one. And in Gurudev, actually it's in one of Narottam Thakur's songs, and our Gurudev, he referenced this point there, that we hear about these 6 enemies, right? Kam, krodh, lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, envy. And Narottam in his song points out that what he's indicating there, and our Gurudev extracted this from there, that actually we can engage all of these negative qualities in a positive way. Like we can channel our anger, we can channel our lust in a positive way. But the one quality that we can't do that with is envy. We can't do anything with envy. We can engage our lust, in hearing the glories of the Lord, right? We can also engage our greed in taking prasadam, right? But we can use our anger, in like protecting the devotees, protecting the Lord's temple, and as appropriate. But envy we cannot do anything with. So that is a real serious one to watch out for.
Okay. Continue from Sri Kulashekar. Bhava jaladi ghatanam dvandva vatahatanam sutta duhitru kaladra trana bhararditanam vishama vishaya toye majjatam aplavanam bhavati sharanam eko vishnupoto naranam. For those persons who have fallen into the ocean of mundane existence, who are being lashed by the hurricane of duality, who are crushed by the burden of maintaining their wife, family, and so on, who are drowning in the ghastly whirlpool of sensual pleasures and bereft of a vessel, the only shelter is the lifeboat of the Supreme Lord. So on and so forth. The teachings of Sharanagati given to the world by the supremely merciful avatar Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are of unparalleled greatness. This is because his teachings are able to bestow the fortune of loving service, prema seva, to Sri Krishna, who is the origin and embodiment of all rasas. In this book, Srimad Mahaprabhu's follower, the great soul Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, has taught the souls of this world those very teachings of Sharanagati. It is certain that the supreme feet of Vishnu and the service of Krishna are attainable through Sharanagati. The Supreme Lord is by nature affectionate to the surrendered souls, Sharanagata Vatsa. He dispels their suffering and showers his supramundane sweetness upon their hearts. Shall I continue, Didi? So, is there anybody else want to read?
Yes. Well, I was just gonna make sure we were clear. Everyone understood. We've returned now to Gurudev's text here, and very, very beautiful. Actually, we like Gurudev was like hiding his his how can we say skill seems like such a cheap word, but our Gurudev was very talented. That also isn't the right word, in speaking and in writing. His English was a little more simple, which I personally, my theory is that was like a deliberate thing, because he didn't want to, my theory is he didn't want to eclipse Guru Maharaj, right? Because Srila Sridhar Maharaj's English is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, his expertise, his you know, his poetic style, the profundity of his expressions also, it's unparalleled. And my feeling is that our Gurudev, you know, he would speak in a little more simple style in English, and he would always say, oh, I don't know English, you know. But if you look like at his Bengali, and like here's one example, you know, like in speaking in his own original language, you know, he shows incredible scholarship and command of the Bengali language. So it's a real treat, you know, to be able to have access to this type of writing where we get some glimpse of our Gurudev's capacity in that regard, you know, for lack of a better word. He was a wonderful writer. There's this one short, it's just a shame, it's a sadness he didn't write more. We have some of his verses, a few compositions, and there was one short story he wrote once, which was it's actually very funny, it is, and very, very vivid. Yeah, this is a very vivid style. It's describing this train journey, some brahmacharis and people on the train having these lively discourse, and you just feel like you're there, you know. So anyway, we're very we feel very fortunate we have this, you know, this as one piece of our Gurudev's writing, which has been rendered into English too. So
and that story, I can say one thing, and the story when Srila Prabhupada actually read that, you know, Srila Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, right? It was published in a magazine, I think. And then he read that, and he said, you are a spiritual humorist or something like that.
Well, he made that one statement, you have great capacity as a transcendental humorist.
Yeah, transcendental humorist, yeah.
And you know, Swami Maharaj, he made one very perceptive comment. He was saying, like, the people nowadays, and it's more and more true, and he wrote this in, this would have been like 1950 something, and it's becoming more and more true. He mentions in that letter, the people nowadays, they won't be so satisfied to read dry philosophy, and you know we have to give them some you know, enjoyable stories, some pleasing presentation, and you have that capacity, and you are transcendental humorist like that, you know. We appreciate it. And he said some other very sweet things in the letter too, you know, like it was like, although now you have reached this like high position, you know, you're sannyas and so on, and so qualified, or like that, we still consider you in the category of our beloved sons, right? Something like that, you know. They had this sweet family relationship. So welcome, Ramananda Prabhu, tuning in from San Jose. Always happy.
Lucky made it.
Made it. We're going to Śaraṇāgati. This is our Gurudev's introduction. And
Sure.
This line is very nice. He dispels their suffering and showers his supermundane sweetness upon their hearts. The twofold effect of the Lord's grace, removing all negativity, all suffering, and bestowing all joy, all positivity, spiritual positivity. And this reminds me of one very nice phrase of Srila Sridhar Maharaj in Prapana Jivana. Do you remember that line, Didi? Hari Rasa. He's saying how it's a play on the word Hari, right? How Hari Mano, like saying like first, because the word Hari, it means to steal, right? It's referring to stealing. And so in this one, it's this one phrase of Srila Sridhar Maharaj in Prapana Jivana, where he's like playing on this word, and he says how the Lord, he steals our suffering, and then he steals our heart. Right? He removes our suffering, and then he charms us with his, you know, divine sweetness. but in the Sanskrit it works very nicely because there's this play on this. In English it doesn't quite work as well, but in the Sanskrit it's this very like clever and charming play on words, this word Hari. So Gurudev is expressing, it would be nice to see the original Bengali. Gurudev may be saying something similar here. Okay.
Some have said that Sharanagati is realization of the separateness of all living beings and objects, which is brought about by the vision of the indwelling omnipresence of the Supreme Lord. Such realization, however, is a part of Jnana Bhakti, devotion adulterated by knowledge. It is not integral to pure devotion. Do you want to say anything about that, Vishaka?
Not really. I was actually discussing this exact point with Sudarshan Prabhu when I was just in Salt Lake City. But I can't remember what it was we were saying. It was very interesting. He was sharing something about this point, because Srila Maharaj also mentions it in Prapana Jivanamrita, and it was something that was always a bit of a puzzle for me, and Sudarshan had some insight on it, but I can't remember right now. Maybe I'll come back to you on that. It was very interesting.
We as enjoyers who have forgotten the Lord are perpetually burning in the blazing fire of the threefold miseries of this illusory universe. Various evil desires, anarthas, have made us forgetful of our true selves, that we are Sri Krishna's servants and children of nectar, and turned us into slaves of Maya. Thus the magnanimous Thakur, Srila Bhakti Vinod, being sorrowful about the sorrow of others, has sung, Vinod kahe, hai, hai, Haridasa, Hari nahi pai. Alas, alas, the Lord's servants have not attained the Lord. We cannot attain happiness in this world by our own persistent endeavors, because we have rejected happiness himself, ecstasy himself.
Now there's a poster. It's a wonderful expression from our Gurudev, isn't it? Happiness is a person, right? Everything is personal. So how can we be happy if we've rejected happiness himself? Happiness, the person. We're chasing after shadows, perverted reflections of that happiness. Then, and sorry, Judy, to interrupt your flow there.
That's nice. Yeah.
This line also I wanted to point out. This is a very, very nice line of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Our Gurudev is pointing out, and Srila Maharaj also points this line out. Sometimes it's Vinod kohe hai hai, Haridas Hari nahi pai. So again, there's a bit of a play here with this word Hari again here in a different way. Right, because Hari is kind of like a generic name for like God, in Sanskrit, and then Haridas means Das is servant, right? So Haridas means servant of God, servant of Hari, but Haridas is also a name. You'll hear people with that name, Haridas, and so it's like this wonderful play on this word, and so he's pointing out who are what is our we are all Haridas actually, right? Our very our very integral identity is as Haridas. But who is Haridas? Hari nahi pai. This is very simple Bengali. They'll still speak like this, doesn't have Hari, doesn't have Hari. Who by nature is Haridas, servant of Hari, doesn't have Hari. Who by nature is a servant of God doesn't have God, right? It doesn't work as well in English. It's what you are by your very nature you're being denied that. Like you know, like sometimes I'll give the example, you know, your whole identity is as an American, and you've been denied entry to America, right? Your very identity is as a citizen of China, and you've been denied entry to China, whatever it may be. Like whatever it is is most close to you in terms of your identity, you're being separated from that. Like how tragic. So Vinod kohe hai hai. Hai hai is like a lamentation, like alas, alas. Oh yeah, that's how it's translated, alas. Vinod is Bhakti Vinod. So he's crying out, alas, alas. You know, who is Hari Das does not have Hari. You know, what a tragic and sorrowful situation. We've separated our, yes, fish out of water, Tungaras is saying in the chat. And Sudevi also has a comment here.
We can't find Hari because we are trapped in Maya. So we can't find, we are looking for Hari, but we can't find him. Yeah, I heard Gurudev's comment. Dandavad.
Dandavad. Sudevi has an interesting comment here saying that before I came to associate with devotees, I was very interested in surrender. I know that even though very okay, I think maybe she wrote it in a rush because her English is a bit broken. You were seeing it in an certain personal sense. Okay, so that's an interesting insight. So like an impersonal conception of what surrender is. Marie's also mentioning that point in her comment, although she, in her case, personal. I would be, if happiness came to the door, I would be comfortable asking him in for tea in a chat. She says as she takes her sip of tea. Well, I'm down for that. It sounds good to me. Very nice. Okay. Okay, well, we can, if anyone else has any comments, please share. Otherwise, we can continue.
Okay. Okay, so, okay, I'll read this again. We cannot attain happiness in this world by our own persistent endeavors because we have rejected happiness himself, ecstasy himself, the embodiment of all rasas, Akhila Rasamrita Murti, Sri Krishna. To attain true happiness, we must serve that Supreme Person whom the Vedas have described with the expression Raso Vaisaha. Thus, the great souls have said that there is no other recourse for the souls than to become detached from this world, Nishkinchan, and surrender to the lotus feet of that Supreme Person, ecstasy himself. Without Sharanagati, the state of truly being his own, Tadiyatva, is never realized. Thus, the learned profusely praise Sharanagati's unprecedented fruit.
I'll perhaps just interject there a little bit.
Yeah.
This is can you just go up? Yeah, this Tadiyatva, right? So you may I mean, many of you you know, you're familiar with this expression Tadiya, right? Tadiya means you know, indicating who's belonging to the Lord. Literally, Tadiya means like his, right? And we use it in kind of like it's like a sacred terminology, like Tadiya Tattva, you'll hear referring to those who have attained that or have that position, right? Of being the Lord's own, right? So, and there are particular entities that are described of as being classified as Tadiya, like the Vaishnavas, the Dham, the holy abode of the Lord. Tulasi is referred to as Tadiya, and what else? One or two others. Sometimes Ganga Devi is mentioned. But this also represents what is the highest achievement of our existence, right? To embrace that and to be accepted in that way, right? And to embrace that identity of belonging. We belong to the Lord. What a wonderful, beautiful thing, right? To really embrace that feeling and that identity. And we were discussing a few months ago this issue about identity. Like, so much of our existence is defined, like our happiness, our sadness is defined by what we identify with, right? You know, we may be rich, but identify as being poor, and we're unhappy with the riches. And I've heard of people, there was one famous guy, he was a chef, he committed suicide, right? He attained all these riches, but he didn't identify with it. He was miserable and he felt guilt around it, killed himself, right? And then many persons, you know, they're poor, but they identify with having wealth. They're also suffering, right? So it's all about your experience is defined by your identity, what you identify with, right? So this is the highest conception of identity, this tadiyatva, right? This conception, this consciousness, this feeling that I belong to him. I belong to him. That represents the greatest wealth, greatest achievement. Really profoundly, if you have that feeling in our hearts. So it's very nice to see the way our Guru Dev is expressing it. Like this is the goal, right? Without Sharanagati, the state of truly being his own, tadiyatva, is never realized. That is the fruit. That is the goal. To attain that feeling. Okay, how are we for time? Oh, well, is it just this one more page, Shiri? It'd be nice to.
Let me see. Yeah.
Oh no.
2 more pages. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's maybe hear one more page at least.
Okay. In the Vaishnava Tantra, the characteristics of Sharanagati have been explained as follows. Anukulesya sankalpaha pratikulya vivarjanam rakshishyatiti vishvaso goptatve varanam tata atma nikshepa karpanye shadvida Sharanagati. Accepting everything favorable, rejecting everything unfavorable, being confident that Krishna will grant his protection, embracing Krishna's guardianship, fully offering oneself to Krishna, and feeling oneself to be lowly are the 6 aspects of Sharanagati. Among these 6 aspects, Goptritve Varanam, embracing the Lord's guardianship, is the complete embodiment, Angi, of Sharanagati. The other 5 aspects are limbs, Angas. There are 3 ways in which one embraces the Lord as one's guardian: physically, verbally, and mentally. These are described in Sri Hari Bhakti Vilas. Tavasmeti vadhan vacha tataiva manasa vidan tat sthanam ashritastanva modate sharanagataha. Declaring with their words, I am yours, knowing this within their mind, and taking shelter of your abode with their body, the surrendered soul rejoices. Surrender performed in full in these 3 ways swiftly grants complete success. Otherwise, the result obtained is proportionate to the depth of one's surrender. In order to learn Sharanagati, one must first fall at the feet of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the teacher of Sharanagati to the souls, who is the personification of the ideal of supra-mundane devotion, and non-different from the Acharya Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan, and pray Khandiya ole amito adhama shikaya Sharanagati karohe uttama. Crying incessantly, I pray, I'm so lowly, please elevate me by teaching me Sharanagati. I think that's the end of that page here.
Beautiful. Very nice. Well, maybe we'll stop there. We don't want to rush through, right? And I would like to pick up on a few points here in this on what we've just been through. What another wonderful reading, from Sharanagati. Does anyone want to share any comments or has a particular question they'd like to bring up before we close for today?
I have one question, Vishaka Didi.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, like we say, accept the favorable and reject the unfavorable. So, how you determine what's favorable, what's unfavorable?
Well, you've actually brought up a good point. So if we, and this is something that I was going to elaborate on a bit more next time, but we can bring it up now. So if we go back, looked at this comment here, right, of our Gurudev, so there's this list of what are these 6 limbs of Sharanagati, and it's mentioned here, and it's stated by Jiva Goswami also that this, amongst these 6 aspects, the principle of Goptriche Vadanam, right, embracing the Lord's guardianship, this represents the principal mood of Sharanagati, right? And everything else, they are like supporting that, they're branches of that, they're serving that. And so all the other ones, they are, and there were some terms, one of our godbrothers, Nisringa Chaitanya, he gave very nice explanation. I can't remember, there are these terms, what were they? But there's the central, like the word mukhya is used sometimes, like the principle, and then what's like supporting. Oh, but that's not the right terminology. I can't remember. But these principles are centered around this main principle, right? So everything is in relation to that. So what is the main principle? To embrace the Lord's guardianship. So everything else must be understood in relation to that. So we accept all that is favorable in relation to the Lord, accepting the Lord as our guardian. We reject everything that's unfavorable in relation to that central principle of accepting the Lord as our guardian, right? So that's the main principle, and that's the reference point, right? That's the reference point, and we are, that's the central reference point, and we're deciding what's favorable, unfavorable in connection with that, right? So we embrace everything that is, we accept everything, embrace everything that's helpful, that's favorable to that principle, right? Service to the Lord, service to the Vaishnavas, and reject everything that's unfavorable. And what is that, like, everything has to be decided case by case, right? But of course there are many general things which are described, and if we go through Prapana Jivanamrita, which is the accompanying text to Sharanagati, then Srila Sridhar Maharaj is elaborating more specifically, what's favorable, what's unfavorable. There's a whole chapter on that, right? The most favorable is Harinam Sankirtan, right? He lists that as the most favorable. And then so many other things. And then of course there are so many details which are individual in everyone's individual practicing lives, and we'll have to decide that according to our own conscience, according to what we've understood, because it's not that we're meant to be robots, just blindly checking the boxes and doing what we're supposed to do, not supposed to do. Our gurus want us to develop our own sense of discernment, right? And that may also involve learning from our mistakes, right? So, and then we may also have the privilege of being able to inquire from a Vaishnava we regard, right? What is their opinion about what is unfavorable, what is favorable, right? So, I hope that answers your question, Prabhu.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah. Guruma explains, it's Pranipad Pariprashnena Sevya. We are inquiring for service. Actually, Param Guruma make everything so easy, simple. I'm lucky I can understand him, but I see him, he explained to people, even senior devotees, they can get it. Somehow, I have Gurudev and your good association, all the Vaishnavas. I'm lucky, yeah. Thank you so much. I had this book for a long time, but I never could, I don't know, understand. So with your association, it's helping me to understand better, clear my mind. Yeah.
Oh, well, we're happy we can be of some small service. And Sudevi saying, what I thought a few months ago was very unfavorable turned out to be very favorable. Yes, that's part of the tricky thing, right? That we don't always have that clarity, and we're under the influence of, material energy, and so that's why, sometimes we'll be careful and cautious in making decisions. Wait and see. We were discussing this, was it yesterday? Somewhere else we were discussing that, that's why this wait and see is very helpful, because we don't want to react on the basis of our mind, ego, right? So sometimes wait and see what is the divine will, right? That is a very helpful thing. We may not be able to immediately assess what is favorable or unfavorable. So then wait and see. Right, and then that may involve some tolerance, right? Tolerating our environment. And then as Sudevi is saying, so nice, then we may discover what we thought was unfavorable is actually favorable. And vice versa. What we thought was favorable is not favorable, right? And then we also need the strength and the courage to be able to make decisions sometimes on the basis of that. Because sometimes we may have some clarity that, oh, this is what's favorable, this is what's not, but we don't have any strength. We don't have spiritual strength. We were discussing this morning the strength of Baladev, Bal, his power, strength of Nityananda Prabhu. We pray to him for some Shakti, some strength in our spiritual life. So we're not just armchair devotees, armchair philosophers, but we have the strength to be able to carry through with our convictions. So, but having that clarity, as we were mentioning earlier in this meeting, that's already a big step. That's already a big grace right there. So, wow, it's so nice. I feel like we're like these little school children, learning our lessons, and having our little powwows, and then we're going back out there and trying again.
Guruma says, see, we are students. Gurudev remind us, we are always shall be students. Yeah, I am learning that.
Suvasini, she's so mature. She's very dignified Vaishnava.
Oh, no, don't say that. I'm learning so much from you. Okay, you're sharing so much wonderful insights into those verses. I'm really grateful for that. Yeah, thank you. For all of people giving the comments and all that, they're also thinking deeply, to expressing these things, and so it's all helpful, very helpful for all of us.
Yeah, we have a very we're so lucky. We have such a very thoughtful group. Everyone's thinking and practicing and paying attention. It's really delightful, inspiring. And everyone, I know those also who are a little more shy with sharing comments. I know how you're taking everything to heart so much, and showing up every time. And there are also those who are shy to join Zoom, but they're following offline, or following, on YouTube and so on, they're appreciating and participating in their own way too. All right. Well, wish you all a happy Wednesday, or perhaps Thursday in Sudevi's case. And look forward to next time. Thank you, Subhasini Ji, for leading us through that and hosting so steadily.
Thank you too. Thank you for giving us so much nourishment through all your classes. Thank you.
Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Sharanagati ki Jai, Bhakti Jai, all the assembled devotees and Sri
Jai.
Nam Sankirtan ki Jai, Jai Gorp.
Shaka Didi ki Jai. Dandavats. Dandavats to all the devotees.
See you all next time.
Dandavats to everyone. Hare Krishna.